Video made by new named creator. Please subscribe, it would mean the world to me, thanks. Let's get to the video. It all began when someone got annoyed. But why? Because there was too much fog in Minecraft and it was causing the game to lag. So he had an idea. He was going to create a mod to optimize fog. This would be called OptiFog, but this aforementioned person called SP604X had another idea. He was just going to optimize everything in Minecraft with this new mod. After some new optimization features and FPS stuff and combining OptiFog with another optimization mod called OptiMine, OptiFine was born, which would grow to become one of the most used mods in Minecraft due to its nature of getting rid of lag. But it did not stop there. In on anything you want. With the key, change your render distance up to 48 chunks, custom lighting and shaders and custom shaders, but more importantly a donation option, because when there are people there is money and basically everyone was using this mod, so why not ask for free money? However, the developer felt that people needed a bit more encouragement to donate. So in exchange for donating, at least you would get free cosmetic, not plural, just cosmetic. And this singular cosmetic was the OptiFine cape, a banner which is displayed on your back, which is also visible to everyone using OptiFine but not to vanilla Minecraft. However, this is useless on single player since there is nobody to flex your cape on, so we will go to the biggest MMO server in Minecraft, Hypixel, where there are so many people to flex your cape on and there are so many different capes to flex. You have the Aspic Black, the Bleeding Heart, and the Depressed Frowny Face capes that goes best with an OG name like Cloud. But let us not get too carried away, because you could also use capes to ban people from Hypixel. But let us also fast forward to September of 2020. More specifically, September 7th, a man who is named I Look Like the Baby was peacefully minding his own business when suddenly he was banned for a week due to something that is now referred to as cape bombing, and he was not the only one. On September 15th, the owner of one of the biggest Hypixel Skyblock Discord servers was also banned for a week out of nowhere as well due to Optif and capes from there. The cape banning only intensified just one day after that. The same cape banning strategy was attempted on a guy called the Big Mac, and the day after that, two players named Orquid and Lappy Sheep became new targets. However, these three managed to escape the cape ban, but another guy called Ben Plays got banned as well. Nobody knew who was doing XSCAPE bombings, and there was lots of suspicion around. The next day, another cape banning attempt was launched against the player work, but they would not have it anymore. Ben and RQD found out who was doing the cape bombings, and soon after the cape bomber was exposed and was never seen again. But it would not stop there. There were multiple cape bombers. The same cape bending strategy was used on a guy called Ramikus on October the 5th. In this time he was banned for a year. There were lots of other targets as well, but these are just the ones I am aware of. After this there would not be much cape bombing, and the cape bending method was patched by Occupying not too long ago. So how does this cape bending method work? Who was the mastermind behind all this trolling? And why did the trolling happen? First, we will take a look at a similar banning method you've probably heard of already. The book banning method, by filling a shelter box with written books and having all of those written books filled with a maximum amount of text and then throwing that shelter box on someone else. You can effectively bend them as the amount of data in that shelter box exceeds the amount of data the server will accept from a player, so they can't exactly log on anymore. Similarly, Hypixel has rules on what they find acceptable from a player, and Hypixel has a certain guideline on OptiFine capes, just a singular guideline, and it was this: any OptiFine capes with inappropriate stuff will lead to punishment, with players sometimes getting banned for a year for bad capes. The thing is, you can only buy capes for yourself, so the cape bands are on them, right? No, on the option donation site, you can basically buy a cape for anyone buying the cap used to automatically enable live for the player you buy it for. So players would sometimes log on to Hypixel to see that they got a random cape out of nowhere. There's not much wrong with that, except you can buy a custom design for capes, and this is where it all goes downhill. Using your imagination and a wide variety of things you can put on your banner. There is not much of a limit to what you can make, and let's just say it's possible to draw a male reproductive stick on an optifying cape, which goes against the rules of Hypixel and is a bannable offense. Combine this with the fact that you can buy a cape for anyone and you have cape bombing. However, Hypixel does not automatically detect these inappropriate capes, so after you buy an inappropriate cape for someone else, you have to go on to Hypixel and use the watchdog report commands to report the player for the cape you bought for them. Hold on, I just want to say if you like this content, please subscribe to this new channel, New Named Creator. Back to the video, that way, the staff will review the player and ban them for the cape. The ban duration may vary from a week to a year. It just depends on which staff member reviews. You people have gotten different ban durations for the same cape. This is just a reminder, but this method no longer works. It's now a waste of time and money, but basically occupying capes could be used as a weapon to ban whoever you wanted at the cost of but who would be crazy enough to spend just to ban someone. As it turned out, one person was, and we will be calling him Fred. Let's go back to September 6, 2020. A player called I Looked Like the Baby noticed that he had gotten a random optifine cape out of nowhere with a long unit. He was a bit concerned at first as he did not buy it, but he just ignored it and went on with his day. But the next day he woke up to this. He had just been banned for a week for a cape he did not even buy. He was now pissed, but nobody could really relate to it, so they just laughed at him. I Looked Like the Baby then tried talking to a staff member, but it was not looking too good for the baby. He had to sit this one out. As a result, he missed out on the 09 update, making him even more mad. A day later his cave disappeared and everyone was slowly forgetting about it. The story was going to end here, but the cape bombing continued, and yes, you have to pay for every person you want to ban each option. Cape has two names attached to it. The email of the donator that bought the cape in the Minecraft account that the cape is bought for the Minecraft account with the cape can deactivate their cape or activate it whenever they want in the Minecraft options, and the donator can move the cape to any account they want on the Optifine website. However, moving the cape will automatically disable it, which is to prevent it abuse. So you have to buy a new cape for every person you want to cape bomb. Also, cape bombing only works on two conditions: if the target does not already have a cape and if the target does not disable their cape before the report reaches the staff. So with this information, the cape bombing continued. On September 8th, the fancy sick cape was moved from I Look Like the Baby to somewhere else. The cape bans went quiet for a while. When on September 15th, two people got banned for a week, to NFG and Bent Lane. Someone was buying multiple inappropriate capes for them to get them banned on purpose, but they didn't know who, and it did not stop there. More people were getting inappropriate capes from random people so they could get banned, but this time they were prepared. Lappy Sheep was able to catch the inappropriate cape before he was too late and quickly disabled it before the staff could review her. Another guy called Arkit also got cave bomb but disabled his cape before the staff could check him. Many people were considering buying an occupied cape for themselves so they would be immune to random capes being sent to them. But who are these people? What do or quit Lappy Ship, the guy who looks like the baby, and 2NFG have in common? Why are they being targeted? These people were all in this Discord server for a Hypixel guild called Trouble Brewing. They were suspecting that someone in the server was targeting them, but they still did not know who or why that was until they knew who did it. On September 18th, Ben Plays noticed that after he had been cape bombed, the Optifine Find cape was moved from him to an alt account named Bone North. To be continued for next episode. If you enjoyed, then leave a like and subscribe. New named creator. I'll see you next time.